Hi everybody, thanks for joining me again on another episode of Cooking with Steve. Stick around, I'm going to show you how to take chicken, green chili, and cheese and turn them into the tastiest tamales you've ever had. Okay, let's get started on our green chili chicken and cheese tamale recipe. It starts with the chicken. I'm going to use 6 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. If you want to use chicken breasts, feel free to do so, but I really do recommend that you use chicken thighs because there's so much more flavor that comes off of the fat that renders, and the meat is just more succulent and tender and moist. So for this recipe, we're going to use chicken thighs. We're going to get it into a crock pot for 4 hours on high. I'll show you how to do that right now. This is 2 medium-sized onions that I've quartered. We're going to just drop these into the bottom of our crock pot. Break them up a little bit. Get them. You're going to make a little bed of onions down here. Get them kind of evenly spread out. We're going to lay our chicken on top of these onions. Now we're just going to layer our 6 pounds of chicken thighs into the crock pot. We're going to throw 3 whole heads of garlic. We cut off the top so it's open like that. We're going to drop these in here too as well. There. I love how beer renders in food. It's great to cook with. Gives a really great rich depth of flavor. So we're going to pop a little of this in here. Just about maybe a cup. We're not going to season our chicken because we're going to season it after we shred it up. We're going to add a couple capfuls of liquid smoke. Turn on your crock pot on high for 4 hours, and then we'll come back and see how it's looking. To make the green chili sauce, you're going to need 19 to 20 medium-sized tomatillos. This is a tomatillo right here. You will be taking off the husks, and we'll be putting these in a broiler to soften them up and roast them. You'll need 9 jalapeños, large jalapeños if you can find large jalapeños. If you can only find them half of this size, then get double. But these are 9 large jalapeños. You can see how they fit in my hand here, you can see. Okay, and then you're going to have 8 Serrano, large Serrano peppers. And lastly, 8 Hatch Green Chile, fresh Hatch Green Chilies. If you can't find Hatch Green Chilies, you can substitute for Anaheim. They just won't be as hot and spicy, but they'll still give that nice green chili flavor. So I'll show you how to prepare all of these ingredients and get them into making a delicious green chili sauce for your chicken. You're going to remove the husks from all of your tomatillos. Try to get the stem off as best as possible, like so. And then you have a little bit of a sticky residue to them. We're going to take them over and rinse them gently under lukewarm water to get rid of that residue. And I'll show you what to do with them next. Spray the bottom of a 9x13 casserole dish with some cooking spray, non-stick cooking spray. Add your tomatillos to the tray. Top them off with a little cooking spray. And now put them in the center rack of your oven under the broiler. Make sure that your broiler is preheated and that your oven rack is in the center of the oven. Place your tomatillos under the broiler for 5 minutes. Pull them out and flip every one of them. The reason for this is you want to make sure that your tomatillos roast evenly and that none of them get burned. Broilers can be a little inconsistent and have hot spots, so you can peek inside every now and then and move them around to make sure that they roast evenly. Once you've flipped all your tomatillos, place them back in the oven for another 5 minutes. A total roasting time of 10 minutes. Once they're done being roasted, take them out, let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can pop them in your blender. Once your tomatillos are done, transfer them to your blender with all the juice that came. Now take all of your jalapeños and serranos and cut off the stems. This next step, you'll want to set your oven rack in the middle of the oven and preheat your broiler. Cover a large sheet pan or cookie tray with aluminum foil. Spray liberally with non-stick cooking spray. Add your chilies to the tray and put them under the broiler. Roast your chilies for 10 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you want to rotate your chilies to make sure you get an even roasting. And after 10 minutes, your chilies should look like this. And you can remove them from the oven. Add your roasted jalapeños and serranos to your tomatillos in a blender. Add 2 cups of filtered water, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. We'll start with half of a tablespoon of kosher salt. There is no garlic or onion in this, and that is because we have all the onion that we're going to use that's been roasting with our chicken thighs, and those 3 heads of roasted garlic are also going to go into our green chili sauce. Lastly, we got 3 cups of fresh cilantro. Blend until smooth. It's a good time to test for salt. So this can definitely use some more salt. We're going to add another half of a tablespoon of kosher salt for a total of 1 tablespoon of kosher salt in this pitcher here of your Chile Verde sauce. We're going to test again for salt after we add our shredded chicken and our beer and our roasted garlic. Once we get all the other ingredients added to this, we will retest again for salt levels, and we will salt as needed. You're going to reserve 2 cups of your salsa verde mixture. You're going to season it with garlic powder and onion powder to your liking. If you want to add water to it to thin it out or add more salt, you're just basically going to turn this into a salsa verde to top your tamales when they're finished. You may have already asked yourself, hey, he forgot to put the Hatch Green Chilies in the salsa verde. No, I did not. The application for these Hatch Green Chilies is different than the salsa verde. We're going to roast these chilies off. I choose to do it on an open flame, as you see here. This is the char on the skins that you're looking for. When all your chilies are evenly charred, you're just going to place them in a bowl like this and cover it with tin foil and let them sit for 20 minutes, at which point we will remove the char from the chilies, cut off the stems, split the chili open, and remove the seeds. See that? That's a beautiful roasted and peeled and seeded Hatch Green Chile. Nice thick flesh. And you'll see we're going to chop these up and add these at the end to our green chili and chicken mixture with the Chile Verde, just to give it some texture and some nice fresh little bites of Hatch Green Chile. So here's what you're going to do to all of your Hatch Green Chilies. You're going to sliver them like so. About like this. Then you're just going to take them and cut them into chunks, like so. Trying to do this in a massive pile doesn't work out very well. So one at a time is best. So you just want some little bite-sized chunks, like that. See those? That's what you want. Set these aside for now. Our chicken is done. There it is. Look at those beautiful roasted heads of garlic right there. Oh my. Yeah, that's where we're gonna get our garlic flavor in our chile verde sauce and throughout our tamales. So let's get this chicken out of the pot. Okay, first things first, let's get these heads of roasted garlic out of here. Oh my. Look at that. Beautiful, huh? There's the second one. And there's the third. Yes, beautifully roasted garlic, the third. All right, take a big bowl like this. We're gonna transfer all this beautiful chicken here. That's just, look at that, fall apart tender. So set your chicken aside, let it cool for a few minutes. Strain off this juice right here. We got a strainer and I'm using a casserole dish here. You can use a big enough bowl, but I'm just using the casserole dish that I roasted the tomatillos in. We're gonna go ahead and strain off this beautiful au jus renderings. All that's gonna go into the chicken meat. We're not gonna waste that. That's all the onion and just little remnants of chicken. So we will toss that over into our bowl with all the other chicken. This right here is 4 cups of the most heavenly chicken broth you'll ever taste. This is what rendered out of the 6 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I strained the juice once through a colander and then the second time through a sieve, and I was left with this rich, beautiful chicken broth. We need the broth for our masa. You're gonna need to season this. So this is 4 cups. I put 1 teaspoon of kosher salt in here, and I put a half a teaspoon of granulated garlic, which just took this chicken broth to a whole other level. We're gonna put it in the refrigerator overnight because we're not actually assembling our tamales and making our masa until tomorrow. And what you want to do is get it in the fridge so that the fat, you can already see it's already starting to rise to the top. There's going to be maybe a ½ inch of a fat cap on the top of this in the morning when I pull it out of the refrigerator. I will take that off, literally be able to remove it practically in one piece, and I'll take it out, and then I'll be just left with a really, really clean, rich, beautiful broth that we'll be putting in our masa. Now you just take 2 forks and come in here. It shreds up so easily. Shred up the onions as well. If you don't like onion, feel free to remove them. I've added 2 heaping tablespoons of bacon grease to a large skillet. You can use olive oil, you can use canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever type of fat you choose, but bacon grease just is full of flavor, so I like to use bacon grease. Get that bacon grease nice and hot, and then you're going to add your chile verde mixture that you blended up in your blender and saute that for about 3 to 5 minutes, bringing it to a rolling boil. Once it comes to a rolling boil, you're going to add 1½ cups of dark beer. You're going to stir that beer in and bring that to a boil and let that boil for about 2 to 3 minutes, at which point you will add another tablespoon of kosher salt. Stir in the salt and then add your roasted garlic that you've mashed up. Take your garlic, after it's cooled of course, just squeeze.
Come on and squeeze me, squeeze me, squeeze me. But please don't tease me.
There you go. Then you're going to take a fork and you're just going to mash it all up, just like so. Just make sure it's all mashed. It's nice and mashed up. We're going to take this over and add it to our chile verde. So we added our roasted garlic to our chile verde sauce, and we're going to whisk it in with a whisk.
Whip it good.
Now it's time to add your chicken to the mixture. Once you get your chicken in the pan, you're going to have to fold it in and make sure that all that salsa verde gets worked into the chicken. Once your chicken and chile verde sauce are fully incorporated, you'll want to add another tablespoon of kosher salt to the mixture. Stir in the salt, reduce your flame to low, and simmer the mixture for 10 minutes. Here's our diced green chilies, and it's time to add them to our chicken and green chili mixture. This in Mexico is known as a guisado. We're calling it tamale filling right here. And what you're going to do is just gently fold in your chilies, and your guisado for your tamale filling will be ready.
That's what your Hatch Green Chile chicken looks like.
Let your green chili chicken guisado or tamale filling cool to room temperature, and then place it in the refrigerator overnight. You're going to need 3 16-ounce packages of corn husks, otherwise known as hojas in Espanol. You'll need 2 40-quart tamale pots. One of those tamale pots you're going to use to soak the hojas in piping hot water overnight. So start this process about 8 o'clock in the evening. You're going to sort through your hojas, picking out the best ones. For this recipe, you'll need about, on the safe side, 80 to 90 hojas. You're going to separate them based on quality. You want flat, smooth hojas. Like this one here, you see? Very smooth and shiny kind of, and it's, you know, nice and wide. They always put the best ones in the front and the best ones in the back. And it's very misleading because in the middle, you get all these hojas, you'll see here in just a second, that really are very difficult to use, especially for beginners. This is like an accordion. You see that? It doesn't hold masa. The masa gets trapped inside of those ridges, and it's just, to me, they are not tamale worthy. However, they do serve a purpose. So set them aside. Pick out 70 to 80, but 80 to 90 actually, of husks that look like this, or as close to this as possible, and set them aside. We're going to put those really nice husks in the bottom of this 40-quart pot. We're going to begin filling the pot with piping hot water, as hot as you can get it from your sink. And then we're going to place the bottom rack of the tamale pot on top of these good hojas to separate them from the bad hojas. Then we're going to place the bad hojas on top of the rack. Once you get all the bad hojas on top of the tray, weigh down the tray and the hojas with 2 heavy plates. Anything that's heavy enough to keep the hojas from floating to the surface. Then continue to fill the pot with the piping hot water until it rises above the hojas and keeps them submerged. Place your lid on the pot and let them soak overnight.
So this would be a good time to tell you that I recommend making tamales over the course of 2 days. When you make them like this, you want to take 1 day to prepare your filling, and then day 2 is when you want to make your tamales, when you want to make your masa and assemble them and put them in the steamer and eat them, yeah.
Preparing your tamale pot for steaming your tamales. You'll want to do all of these things prior to making your masa. Fill a 4-quart pot full of water to the top and place on your stove. Take your 40-quart tamale pot, remove the base, and drop in 2 quarters. Yes, 50 cents. These quarters will tell you when your water is boiling, which is when you'll be able to begin your cook time of 1.5 hours for your pot of tamales. The quarters tell you when the water begins to boil. That is the time that the pot
begins to create steam. The steam is what cooks the tamales. If the quarters are not rattling, that means one of two things. There either is no water left in the bottom of the pot, which will be disastrous, or your flame is a little too low. The water is not simmering enough, creating enough steam to rattle the quarters. So make sure you keep an ear on the quarters as well. Now you're going to take the bad husks that we soaked on top of the pot, and you're going to tear them and make a little base at the bottom of this tamale pot. This is to help your tamales grip when we begin to stack them in the pot. Once you complete your base using the hojas, you're going to find a bowl about this size, an oven-proof bowl, and you're going to place it in the center of the tamale rack at the bottom. Find a box or something 8 to 12 inches tall to set your tamale pot on top of, right next to the table where you'll be assembling your tamales. This will make it much easier to stack them in the tamale pot when you begin to fill the pot. This recipe calls for 9 pounds of masa for tortillas. As you see right here on the label, it says masa fina para tortillas. Yes, you can get this at any Mexican market that makes homemade tortillas there. So I buy them in 3-pound bags because the base recipe calls for 3 pounds of masa. We're making 9 pounds of masa today, so we're tripling the recipe. So all the ingredients in this recipe have been tripled, and we're going to use a 8-quart KitchenAid commercial stand-up mixer to make our masa. If you have the 5-quart, you'll only be able to do 3 pounds of masa at a time. Listen closely here. If you make 3 pounds of masa in your 5-quart mixer, you'll need 3 pounds of tortilla masa, 1 pound of lard, and 3/4 of a cup of your chicken broth. If you use the 8-quart stand-up mixer, you will use 6 pounds of masa and 1.5 cups of liquid and 2 pounds of lard. We're going to start by adding 2 pounds of Farmer John manteca to our mixing bowl here. Make sure that your lard is room temperature. Get it into the bowl. Start your mixer out on medium speed just to get the lard evenly distributed throughout the bowl. Once it is, then turn your mixer up to high. Whip the lard for about 3 minutes and then scrape down the sides. Then beat your lard for an additional 60 seconds. Scrape down the sides again and begin adding your masa. Now with your mixer on 6, you're going to add the first 3-pound bag of masa, one big chunk at a time, as you see me doing here. Once you get that entire bag into the bowl, mix it for 2 minutes. Then stop the mixer and scrape down the sides and begin adding the second 3-pound bag of masa to the mixture. Once that's all in the bowl, stop the mixer, scrape down the sides again, and mix that again for another 2 minutes. Time to season our masa with salt. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. Make sure that you use kosher salt. The measurements are specifically designed for kosher salt. Once you get your salt added to the masa, you're going to whip your masa on high now. Turn your mixer to high and whip it for 2 minutes. It's time to add our beautiful chicken broth to our masa. When you take your chicken broth out of the refrigerator and remove that fat cap on top, it will be very gelatinous. It will not be liquefied. So you'll have to put it in the microwave for a minute at a time and stir it around until it actually loosens up back into a broth, and then you'll need to let it cool. So I recommend doing this like right when you start making your masa or a little bit before. You want it to be liquefied like this, like you see here. And then we're going to add 3/4 of a cup at a time to the masa on very slow speed. Once you get the first 3/4 of a cup incorporated, then you can add the second 3/4 of a cup. Your total amount of liquid in this 6 pounds of masa is 1.5 cups. So do it very slowly as you see here, or else it'll be all over your kitchen and you. Once you get it incorporated, it's time to add our beautiful Hatch Green Chile powder from New Mexico. We're going to add a total of 6 tablespoons to this right here, very slowly again on low, or else you'll be sneezing and coughing because there'll be green chili powder all over your kitchen. So once you get this incorporated slowly, then the last thing to do is to put your mixer on high and whip this for a total of 2 minutes. At which point you'll stop the mixer and scrape down the sides one last time, making sure that your green chili powder is evenly incorporated. Once you scrape down the sides, mix it again on high for another 60 seconds and you're ready to go. Time to drain our soaking tamale husks. So take the bad tamale husks that we separated off of the top and then drain the water. Remove the good tamale husks from the bottom and shake as you see here. Wrap up your towel and take them over to your tamale making station. These husks are smooth on one side and then they're rough on the other. So listen to this. And then listen to this. This is the smooth side. So you want to put your masa on the smooth side. Otherwise, these ribs, these silks, will grip your masa and it causes the tamale to stick when you try to take it out of the husk after they're cooked. So you're going to use a clean, dry cloth to pat dry your tamale husk before you put down your masa. And you're going to put down 2 large tablespoons, just overflowing tablespoons of masa in the center of your husk. I like to use these spreaders. You can use a spoon. My wife uses a spoon, but I like the way these spreaders spread the masa out evenly. So I spread the masa on the husk. Feel free to scrape the masa off of your surface that you're working on only if it is clean. Our surface is extremely clean and sanitized. It's a vinyl tablecloth that we've used for many years now, and it's always super clean. So once you get your masa spread out evenly onto your husk, you're going to drop a layer of meat, as you see there in the center, and a piece of cheese, and you're going to roll your tamale, tuck it in, and then flatten it just a little bit. Push down just a little, like you see there, to square it off. You don't want your tamales to be round. And then take that seam and fold the tail up towards the seam, like so. And there's your tamale, a nice, uniform, even, properly filled tamale. Now you're going to set these aside, and once you build up an amount of maybe 6 to 8 tamales, I'll show you how to start stacking them in your pot. So I've got my trusty assistant here, my lovely wife, Tessie, and she's a big part of this tamale adventure. So we're going to go ahead and do this together. We've got our stations here. She's got her husks over there, and I got a little bowl of masa for her so she doesn't have to reach over. I've got the bowl in front of me. Our meat is right in the center of the table along with our cheese. And as we assemble our tamales, what we're going to do is we're going to set them right here, and we're going to make a pile of them. And then once we have enough, we'll go ahead and set them inside of our tamale pot. And when we get the tamale pot full, we'll get it on the stove and start steaming our tamales. Loading the tamale pot can be kind of tricky. Put them right here in the center. Prop them up like that. So that's what your tamale pot should look like when it's fully loaded. Time to get our tamales on the stove. We're gonna take those ugly husks that we had, and we are going to drop them around the sides like so. Right when you begin spreading and assembling your tamales, bring that 4-quart pot of water that I showed you in the beginning, bring that to a boil, and then cut the heat, keep the lid on, and keep that hot. Then you're going to dip two clean kitchen cloths in that hot water and drape it over these husks. And this is to help keep the steam in and to help evenly cook the tamales. Time to pour that steaming hot water in that 4-quart pot into our tamale pot. I like to transfer mine to a large measuring cup and pour it down the sides. It's easier because of the spout. If you don't have one, just be careful, but you're going to pour the hot water down the sides of the tamale pot, not over the top of the tamales. You'll hear the water draining down into the base, and this is the exact amount of water that you need to boil your tamales for 90 minutes or 1 hour and a half. Now it's time to get our tamale pot on the stove, put on the lid, cover the lid with heavy-duty aluminum foil. This is to prevent steam from escaping during the cooking process. Turn your flame to high. Bring the water to a boil. You'll know the water is boiling when you hear your quarters start dancing. Once you hear that noise, you can start your cook time. You also want to reduce your flame to a medium to medium high, depending on the kind of stove you have. If you have a commercial stove, medium flame is where you want to put it. If you have a conventional stove, maybe medium high. Then set your timer for 90 minutes, at which time my tamales are always done, but we'll take one out and I'll show you how to test for doneness. Okay, it's been about an hour and 30 minutes. We're going to go ahead and remove the foil. I want to show you how to do that without burning yourself. Get yourself some tongs and lift it like this. You can see that steam coming out of there will get you every time. Hold on to that in case we have to reuse it, but we're going to take one tamale out right now to test it. And the way you do this, you have to crack this seal. There's a lot of pressure buildup in here. So crack the seal with your tongs first. Let all that steam out. See all that steam coming up? Pull it off, like so. And then grab it. There's a bunch of hot water on the top, so be careful. And take it over to your sink. Your cloth off. These are really hot. Just lean them over the sides. So they're going to be really soft and mushy. There's our timer. So we'll grab one, lay it out. Set it on a plate like this, and then give it about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, turn off your heat. Cover the tamales again with the towel. There's so much heat in there that they will actually continue to cook. Put your lid back on until you've checked the test tamale. If they're not done, then turn the heat back on and cook them for another 15 minutes if needed. Okay, so it's cooled now. Let's see. This is how you can tell if your tamales are done. First of all, the masa pulls away from the husk nice and easy. See how that comes off? And it's nice and soft. Oh yeah, these look really good. And then you just slide your fork underneath that little thing. You could just pull it off and eat it if you want. That's what a lot of people do when they're gonna. I kind of want you to see this in its entirety. Yeah, so there is a picturesque tamale. We'll flip it over and see how beautiful it looks. Show you up close. Look at that, how gorgeous and succulent the masa looks. And let's go ahead and we'll cut into it. We'll just cut it in half. See what it looks like inside. So pick it up. Yeah, and there's your cheese
and your chicken and your green chili. It's all right there. Just amazing deliciousness. Tender. Look at the masa. How beautiful and succulent that is. There's nothing dry about it. It's tender. Yep. So I would say those are done. I take parchment paper and I line my countertop with it. Lay them down so they're really hot, and you're going to just flatten them, push them down a little bit so that any settling that took place during the cooking process you can adjust for. So a lot of times what happens is everything kind of settles down in there, and you can push that up while it's still warm because they're going to still solidify and they'll take perfect shape when they're done. So push down like that, and you can see the filling come up to the front, and that's what you want right there, even. And they'll cool that way and they'll be beautiful. We're gonna taste the tamales that we just made, and we're serving them two different ways. This is my wife's favorite way to eat them, with sour cream. And I'm just a plain guy. I like to have my salsa verde on the bottom, and she likes hers over the top with sour cream. I give her a nice little garnish of cilantro just to make it look pretty. So we're gonna have a taste of these and see how they turned out. We're gonna test these tamales out. We're both gonna taste our tamales the way we like them, and we'll let you know how they turned out. So, you wanna feed each other?
Sure.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna do that, then I gotta switch it over like this for you. Then I got yours here. And let me see, let's get you a bite. I'll go under, you go over. Wow.
Yummy.
Oh my gosh, those are super moist.
It's delicious. Good job, monkey.
Thank you. Thanks for helping.
You're welcome. I'll say that the masa is very soft.
It is?
It's, I think it's your best masa so far after all these years of cooking. And it's actually tasted good raw.
She loves raw masa. I literally find her eating the masa after I've made it uncooked.
It's better cooked. So it's really good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm going to try yours.
Okay.
Because I don't always eat it with sour cream, but I do, you know I love sour cream. I put it on everything, right? Just never on my tamales until you told me.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious. I love the extra salsa.
No, you want yours now?
The extra salsa.
Yeah. That's why I made as much chile verde as I did, so that you can have some leftover chile verde salsa to put on your tamales. So these tamales are not dry, believe me. Without salsa verde, they're amazing. Sometimes we'll just pop them in the microwave and peel it and eat it like a little burrito. Huh? We don't put anything on it. Just eat it with our hands. So, but there's so many different ways you can eat tamales, and yeah, one of them is with salsa. Thanks. Well, I really hope that you guys give this a try at home. It is definitely a process, but I'll tell you what, if anything says family more than any other cuisine, I would say in the Latin community, it's tamales. And
delicious.
Yeah. These go way back. Every bite is a memory of my aunt, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my mother, my cousins. So, yeah, if this is a tradition that you want in your family, this is, there's nothing better. So
the chicken's delicious. Good.
Yeah.
Garlic flavor, onion flavor. It's a nice umami. It's really tasty.
Yeah.
by itself, but especially the pairing with the masa and the cheese and the salsa and everything, perfect.
Yeah. Well, I apologize for getting emotional, but I miss every person that these remind me of. So thanks for joining us today on this episode of Cooking with Steve G and my lovely wife, Tessie G. And until next time, take care. Say bye, monkey.
Bye, monkey.
No, say bye. Just say bye.
Bye.